Good evening. The time is now 7 p.m. I'd like to call this Board of Selectmen meeting to order for August 8th, 2022, and ask that you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And roll call.
Art Gagny.
Scott Gardner.
Kevin Cunningham. And item C, to approve meeting minutes from the Board of Selectmen meeting from 7/25/22.
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for 7/25/22.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item D, public comment. Okay, hearing none, there is no old business, so we go right into new business. Item 1, consider an act on the tax refunds as requested by the tax collector totaling $156.78. Kathleen Tho, $48.69. David Tatro, $57.21. Christine Naro, $9.36. Amy DeRozier, $41.52.
Make a motion to pay the tax refunds in the amount of $156.78.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item 2, discuss and approve a resolution opting the town into the Small Town Economic Assistance Program, also known as STEEP, and authorizing the town to submit the application for August 15th. There is a deadline for this application if you so choose to opt into STEEP. And what I'd like to do is talk to us a little bit about what the resolution discusses, and also what I have tonight is two gentlemen who can talk in more detail about what we'd like to apply for. This is a opportunity for the town of Plainfield to do some upgrades to recreation, in particular the Lions Park area, and different things that we'd like to bring to the table for discussion. So, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. Do I need to say anything?
No, if you wouldn't mind.
So, as Kevin said, there is an opportunity for applying to a STEEP grant, which stands for Small Towns
Economic Assistance Program.
Okay. Essentially, one of the ideas that we've been kicking around is some improvements to Lions Park. We recently did a survey, and I'll go through the questions just very briefly. So there were, I believe, 9 questions approximately. So first question was, would you support replacing the current playground with a new playground to make it more ADA and inclusive for all children? That had I would say an overwhelming positive response, with 86% saying that they are in favor of replacing the current playground. That's out of 173 responses. And it's worth noting this survey has only been public for about 2 weeks. The second question is, would you be in support of making Lions Park more wheelchair and ADA accessible? Currently, the playground is not accessible. It's possible, but it's not really wheelchair friendly because there's no direct path that leads from the walking track to the playground. Same thing with the basketball court, and then the gazebo and other items there. That again had a overwhelming positive response. 87% said yes, they would like to see Lions Park more wheelchair friendly. That's out of 174 responses. Question 3, would you support replacing the current basketball court with 2 new basketball courts? That had 72% that supported replacing the current basketball court with 2 new basketball courts. The reason for 2 new basketball courts is we would like to explore doing adult and youth leagues, outdoor leagues, as well as tournaments, clinics, other programming.
If you don't mind my interjecting
Sure.
a little item there. If you note, the basketball court we have out there is how many, 30-ish?
It's approximately 30 years old.
Yeah.
And essentially, many have noticed that the work that we did on it last year has already started to chip and wear away. The reason for that, there's two. One, that property has a high water table, so every time anytime it rains or floods, the water literally comes up from beneath the basketball court and bubbles that surface that we put down, and that's what chips away. The second issue is because it's 30 years old, essentially the asphalt that was there has completely dried up, so there was nothing for that top layer to bind or adhere to the current court. We've already been talking with a company that has done it, or it did that work last year. We had a 2-year warranty, so that's why we're trying to make moves now so that we can essentially replace that court within this 2-year timeline. So, sorry.
That's okay. And the restructure of that, also the materials being put in now, would make that last a lot longer.
Yes.
The idea of how it would be poured versus what it is currently, because it's just not doing us any service at this point.
Right, exactly. So, essentially, if we can't get the product that we want without starting over, and we didn't realize that until it was too late. Between the high water table and the asphalt being just dried up, and that's why the company actually worked with us and gave us a 2-year warranty instead of the 1 year, because we knew weeks after, okay, this isn't working out, we need to come up with something else.
So what are they going to do for us?
As long as we can fall within that 2-year warranty,
They're going to do one of the courts?
they will resurface at least one court free of cost. So that's what the deal was. So, but since we are doing 2 courts, we'll have to pay for the other. So, all right. So yes, 72% say that they are in favor of 2 new basketball courts. And then we had a couple other options. 10% said that they want to replace the current one with only 1 court. 11% said no, leave the court as is, and then 5% said remove the court and don't replace it. So, but again, majority, 72%, would like 2 basketball courts, and I think that would open up new possibilities for us. Next question is, and this one I'll explain more. Would you support installing 3 new volleyball courts? The current one is in very poor condition, and replacing it with 3 new volleyball courts would again open up possibilities to leagues, tournaments, clinics, etc. The map that I handed out to you guys, I did include the 3 volleyball courts, however, we're just going to start with 1. Really the purpose of including the 3 is just to show you, the layout and the possibilities if we decide to expand in the future. But we decided just to start with 1, make sure that we have the need and the demand for it. I'm pretty confident, that there's going to be a positive response, but the exciting thing is that with the new volleyball court, we've already established a partnership with a company called The Sandbox. It's a private company that has indoor volleyball courts down in Groton. They have a philanthropic foundation that donates their technical assistance, but also top-of-the-line netting systems. So essentially, they're going to work with us hand in hand. We'll have to do the work and get the supplies, but they'll work with us so that the end product is, to quote the guy, that's a professional quality volleyball court. So that people not only from Plainfield but maybe surrounding towns want to come to our court because it's the best around. So it's not. I don't like the current volleyball court that's out there just because it's not of good quality. So it's going to be night and day compared to what we have currently. So.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Sure.
Would it be on the same side it's on now?
Same side?
Yeah. The track?
It's inside the track.
You say right now you want to do 1.
Right.
You do the one on that side? So you have
So
it laid out.
it's gonna be further back. So,
Right, but it's gonna be on this side.
So
The
the
first one would be this one?
yes. Sure, yes.
That one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
The other
honestly,
question
it could be any one of it.
As far as the nets, is vandalism.
Yeah, it's possible, you know.
They're expensive, right?
The nets
The nets.
themselves, not so much.
Uh-huh.
It's more so the rigging system, you know, the poles and then the cable that, and the winch and everything. The net might be $100 to replace. But again, the best prevention to vandalism is bringing in good people. People aren't going to break things if there's people watching them 10 feet away. So if we had volleyball clinics or tournaments there, you know, three nights a week, and then we had basketball tournaments 2 nights a week, and music in the park, and there's not going to be any chance for anyone to break anything. So that's the idea, is that instead of having people loiter and hang out there, hanging out the people that we want, we're bringing in the right kind of people that are going to protect and use the park to what it's meant to be used for. Yes, so we did scale it back to just one volleyball court based on the survey results. It was a bit, I guess, well, so 46% said that they would like 3 volleyball courts, 14% said they would like 2, and then 19% said that they would only like 1. So again, we're just going to start with 1, see what the actual demand is. So the next question is, here we go. Would you support building a new fitness area at Lions Park? So currently there is some fitness equipment. It is outdated. It's not necessarily needed as an Eagle Scout project years ago. Coincidentally, a couple months ago, a group called the National Fitness Campaign reached out to us. Essentially, their goal is to, I guess, install 30,000 fitness courts throughout the U.S. By 2030 or something along those lines. Essentially, that's what you'll see on the next page. I have 2 pictures there. It looks pretty large. It's actually only half the size of a basketball court.
Tennis court.
Tennis, yes, they're approximately the same size. Yeah, tennis court. Just to go back to the survey results, 76% said yes, they would like a new fitness, or would like new fitness equipment. And then 9% said nope, leave current equipment, and then 14% said remove the existing equipment and do not replace. So just to talk a little bit more about that court, Kevin, Jordan, and I, we all had the opportunity to meet and speak with a representative from the National Fitness Campaign. That court is what I would say top of the line. It's inclusive for everyone. If you're in a wheelchair, and then really the age range, I believe they said like 14 to 100. So it's for all abilities, all skill levels, the cool thing about it is, you know, anyone from the public can use it, but also, again, you know, big picture, we can expand our programming. You can actually get instructors certified to you know, teach a class how to use the equipment, as well as there's an app that you can download that, again, gives you, it was like something like 10,000 fitness
Instructional items
yeah,
for that.
yeah, workouts that you can do using that exact equipment that's there. You can see that's the blue square on the map. That's an ideal location. It might not be the exact location, depending on a couple other factors, but somewhere in that proximity is where it would go. So that's the fitness court.
I have a question about that.
Yep.
Cleanliness, like a gym, how does it stay clean?
I would say it's equivalent to a playground. Right, when you're a little kid, you're sweating on the playground.
They sweat that much, and I don't know. I'm thinking gym equipment.
Yeah,
Sweat.
yeah.
It's gross.
you know, I guess honestly, I don't have an answer, but that hasn't
Something to think
come
about.
up. Yeah, it hasn't come up. I would say being outdoor elements, yes, if someone's sweating and then you hop on it 2 minutes after, yes, there might be some kind of crossover contamination, but.
But just like in the gym, most people bring their own stuff to White Town before
Right.
they use it.
Or put a sign,
Yeah,
clean
yeah.
after you.
Yeah. But I mean, reality is, I'd say if more than 5 minutes went by, the sun is, the natural UV rays are probably gonna sterilize it, yeah. So that's why, you know, during COVID, playgrounds was one of the few things that actually did stay open for the most part. There was a brief duration where they closed, but they found, you know, COVID doesn't live on, you know, outdoor equipment, so. So I would assume that it's similar to that. Outdoor lighting, this is something that's been discussed for some time. So question was, would you support adding lighting around the walking track? 93% said that yes, they would support that. And then there was actually a comment section in the survey, and you know, not only did 93% people say yes, but they said yes because they would feel safer, yes to prevent vandalism, yes to, you know, added hour. I shouldn't say added hours, but you know, we were talking today during the winter. You know, it's dark by 4 o'clock, so you know that really limits the time of use that someone that might be working during the day has. So you know, if we can just extend it that extra hour or two during the winter, that would be beneficial. As well as the current lights that we're looking into, they're solar, but also have outlets on them, so that we could potentially use them for decorating the park. You know, seasonally, most likely for the holidays. You know, we're trying to, you know, we just added lighting to the town hall, and we're doing our tree lighting, so that could be really something. Our trunk or treat event has been pretty popular, so again, there's different uses for that. As well as even in the dead of summer, you know, when our concerts end at 8 o'clock, you know, or, you know, late August when they end at 7:30, it gets pretty dark by the end of the concert, so the lighting could be beneficial, you know, year round. So, let's see. Would you support adding permanent restrooms to Lions Park? Let's see. We had 83% say yes. Again, in the comments, really, you know, overwhelming. You know, and it is definitely a need. Currently, if the town hall is open even on the Fridays or Saturday mornings, people from the park do come in to use the downstairs restrooms. It's okay, but it's not ideal. It puts our lifeguard staff and our pool staff kind of in an uncomfortable situation sometimes, just because it is open to the public. So if we, you know, had outdoor restrooms, and again, being more family friendly, if you're a mother with 2 or 3 kids, you got 1 in the stroller, 2 on the playground, that means that you got to take the 2 off the playground, come all the way inside, bring the stroller. So it's just it's a trek and not ideal for families with lots of kids. So having outdoor restrooms would be beneficial. And then this one, would you support adding more covered seating throughout the park? So currently there is limited seating. We're going to hold, even though there was a positive response, 77% said yes, they would like additional covered seating out in the park. We're going to hold off on that just because of budgetary restrictions. But currently, you know, there is a need for seating. You have the pavilion, which is used as the concert, you know, stage. So in the middle of the summer, when the concerts, the performers are nice and shaded, but then the 200-300 people are, you know, kind of baking out in the sun. Same thing over by the playground. We do have the natural shade of the tree, but, you know, again, that's kind of natural shading. So if it starts to rain or, you know, anything more than a light drizzle, you're going to get wet. So that's something that we'll plan for the future. Just to go through the rest of that packet, you'll see, let's talk about the fitness court, you'll see an example of the restrooms. This is not exact, it's just an example of what they likely will look like.
Are we looking at 4?
No, just a picture.
Yeah, just two. Two, I would say
2 on the other side.
maybe 3 at max, depending on, right now we have about 75,000 allocated for, so probably just 2. So ideally, if we can squeeze in a little storage as well, that would be beneficial as well. The last page, you'll see the budget. So total cost of the project is approximately $540,000. With the steep grant, there is a matching component. So the town would be responsible for matching $108,000. We do have that funding available. Essentially, again, restrooms have kind of been discussed for a number of years, so $35,000 was placed in this year's budget for restrooms. $30,000 for playground improvements, again, that's already in the budget as well. We've had generous donations from Plainfield Bike Night over the last 2 years. That's brought in, we'll say conservatively, approximately $20,000, could be upwards of $25,000. And then we also do have 2 accounts under the Recreation Department that would allow for additional spending. So,
Could you tell me what those 2 are?
the 10-1123 account is our revenue account. So essentially, our program revenue goes towards that account. It's beneficial because in situations like this, where essentially all of our recreation revenue goes into that account, so that we can use it towards, grant matching or projects or park improvements and whatnot. So that's the one account, and then the 10-6201-39, that's our supplies and expenses account, which again is intended for park maintenance.
So the entire project is listed at this time an example of $540,000 for all the things you mentioned, and your 20% match was the bottom section for matching.
Correct.
So there really is no request to go to a town meeting to ask for any more monies because you already have a matching account available.
Every dollar that would be used towards matching is already allocated for park improvements or park maintenance.
So in order to go for and acquire, even just put the application in, we'd have to be a steep town.
Yep.
Which is why the resolution, which talks about the opt-in eligibility for the municipality through the Connecticut General Statutes 4-66G, and that's why we have it on the agenda for tonight for discussion and if possible action. If you're curious about how the whole grant process works, we have a grant writer here so he can answer any questions you may have about the grant in particular.
And then just one clarifying part. So the match, that puts us in priority status, so it's not technically required. However, there are a lot more steep eligible towns than some other programs. So being able to meet that match is going to make us far more competitive. So this program was really big in the early 2010s, where a lot of our sidewalks were funded from. And basically, it hasn't been around competitively since 2016. And there were some issues with having it fully funded in the past. So this past budget season, the state set aside $30 million just for this round. So it's one of the better rounds. So now's the time to do this. And so the reason not to exceed 500,000 is because this budget is so rough. We're waiting on final estimates for the actual ask. Yeah.
And that's the ceiling anyway for Steve.
Right, 500,000 is the most you can ask for. We'll probably end up below 500,000. Probably.
Well, in this budget, you're 432, right?
Currently, yeah, that's what we'd be asking for, 432.
Yep.
I only have one question about the grant.
Yep.
Do you know why it expired? Did they just not?
So you're only, so if you opt in, you're only eligible for 4 years. And the last time we opted in was 2011.
They just didn't
Yeah, it doesn't automatically.
do it.
Yeah, so because technically when you opt in, you're no longer eligible to receive urban center funds, which we're not eligible for anyway. for larger communities, like Norwich is eligible for urban center. If they wanted to apply, they have to opt in and no longer be eligible.
Like Bridgeport, Hartford, things like that, they were the ones that go for the urbans.
Right.
I will say a few things about this before we take any action of any type. Whenever you build something, you're now responsible to maintain it. So with that comes an added cost in the future, and I do anticipate that. The only one I'm concerned with really is the exercise pad area for maintenance. What does that entail for the town versus the company?
Sure. So when we met with the representative from the company, it's a foam cushioning system, but it's individual tiles. So essentially, should a tile get damaged, it's easy enough to replace just that one tile. I don't remember the approximate numbers, but I would say those tiles are relatively inexpensive. Do you remember by chance what the life expectancy? I believe he said it's
25 years.
For the full
life.
Of the core, and then I think it was 15 years for the surfacing as well.
Yep.
So
Being a tile setter, I would recommend buying extra tiles.
that's
Because you're not going to get the same dialogue or
Right.
anything later on.
right.
so.
That's a good idea. Yep.
A couple more things I want to mention. One was, it was very interesting to see the comments, because there were a multitude of comments talking about a splash pad. Maybe that could be something in the future, but and then finding a place for it on the field. But that also comes with the maintenance issues and how do you put it up and how do you maintain it. So while I like the idea, it's a matter of not at this moment. I mean, that splash pad could cost anywhere from a small, tiny one for 50 grand, but a bigger one, like you see in other towns, could be about $500,000.
Yeah.
And then you've got the maintenance, you get bringing in the water, filtering it, cycling it back through. And just to make sure we're all clear, because there was concern over safety and concern over vandalism. For those people who don't know and understand in the town, this building has been equipped with a camera system for months now. We've already used it to thwart off some vandalism that had happened and prosecute it. And we will continue to do that. And I think that we'll talk about the upgrades, if need be, for this site as well, because I think it's important to make sure that we're all safe. That's the other reason why I really like the lights, and we were thinking about it before anyway.
Yep.
So those were the comments were very interesting to hear. They're really in favor of the projects and going forward, except for a few people who said they didn't want it, and they didn't want it mostly because of is it going to raise my taxes?
Right. Yes.
In this case, we're hoping to get everything now and build in a small budget for maintenance in the future.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, this is all, I would say, top of the line stuff. We're not cutting corners anywhere. This is, high quality stuff that should be durable and last us a long time.
So there's another suggestion into the future, seeing it's high quality, is perhaps in the future we think about maybe a taller fence with locking gates.
Sure.
At night you could lock them, open them in the morning,
Yeah.
and nobody can get in.
Sure. Yeah.
Because that's when the vandalism happens, is at overnight.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, there's
Future, I know the fence is getting beat up as it is now,
Right.
so
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely
thing to do.
Presentation, anything else you have to add, or we're good?
I think that's it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that.
Yep.
For the board members, any other comments or questions, concerns? I'm just looking forward to reading this entire resolution. I'll give it a shot. So if you are so inclined to go forward, I will read through the resolution opting the town of Plainfield into the Small Town Economic Assistance Program, which is STEEP, and authorizing the town to submit an application requesting funds for improvements to Lions Park for the August 15, 2022 deadline. Whereas the Board of Selectmen recommends the town of Plainfield apply for 2022 STEEP grant, and whereas the Board of Selectmen acknowledges the town of Plainfield is deemed both a public investment community and a distressed community, and the town is therefore opt-in eligible for the STEEP program. Eligible municipalities are determined by Connecticut General Statutes 4-66GB, and whereas municipalities which are eligible to opt into STEEP program but are not currently opted in must submit their opt-in request prior to submitting their STEEP application, and whereas the town of Plainfield existing opt-in status has expired, and whereas the Board of Selectmen as a legislative body must meet to vote and opt in to the STEEP program before being able to submit a STEEP application for the program year or program years, and whereas the Board of Selectmen recommends that the town of Plainfield opt in to the STEEP program for the next 4 years, and whereas First Selectman Kevin Cunningham is hereby authorized to apply for and accept on behalf of the town of Plainfield a 2022 Connecticut STEEP grant not to exceed $500,000 for the Lions Park improvements and upgrades project. Whereas the First Selectman Kevin Cunningham is hereby authorized to enter into and execute any and all agreements, contracts, and documents necessary to obtain said STEEP 2022 grant with the state of Connecticut, and whereas the Board of Selectmen will submit a written notice of such vote to the Secretary for the Office of Policy Management, and it is therefore resolved that the Board of Selectmen hereby authorizes the town of Plainfield to opt into the Small Town Economic Assistance Program and authorizes the submission of an application requesting funds for the improvements of Lions Park for the August 15, 2022 deadline. What is your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to opt into the Small Town Economic Assistance Program.
Second.
A motion by Art, second Scott. Any other discussion? Other than we are going to try very hard to get that application in. We also want to make sure that we understand and trust the fact that our grant writer has been looking into all of this back and forth to make sure that we're going to do the right thing, and should be able to get this forward, moving forward very quickly. So we appreciate all the work you both guys have done.
And I would just ask, could the board also vote to authorize the submission of the application? Because it has to be the opt-in and then also the authorization.
So we'd entertain a motion then to, as it was in section 2 here.
Do you want me to just amend my motion?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll amend the motion to add, to authorize the town to submit an application for the August 15th, 2022 deadline.
You have a second?
Second.
Thank you. So Art has made a motion and amended, Scott has seconded and amended that, so we're all good there. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I would now ask that you would consider adding 2 more, thank you gentlemen.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion to add item 3 to discuss the monies being spent on the records management system, and entertain a motion to add item 4 to the agenda to discuss and approve modification of the town of Plainfield employee cell phone policy. So let's take them one at a time. If you'd like.
I'll make a motion to add item 3, discussion of monies for the records management system to the agenda.
Okay,
Second.
thank you very much. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the second one will be a motion to item 4 for the agenda item for discussion and approval of modification of the town of Plainfield employee cell phone policy.
Make a motion to add item 4, discuss the town of Plainfield cell phone policy.
And second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. We now added those are 2 items. Item number 3, you have been given a packet as a follow-up. And this is only for discussion, just so you understand where the monies are going to. And then to give an idea of how long this process has taken. So we are just letting you know that the approved monies were up to a certain value for that was voted upon by the town of Plainfield. And so right now, at this point, we have those 2 items which are there. They are very much relatable, and I'll explain that in a second. This has to do with the $151,114.60, which is going to go directly to a company for record management system. And if you remember, we voted on something for record management system with mobile data terminals. The second company is named Telrepco. They're the ones with the mobile data services, so that's $43,950. So they are being processed right now, and that's why I want to let you guys know. And that way, we know where we are in the process for how they want to be. Any questions? I can relay them to the chief, but that's really where we are right now.
Yeah, I'm a little confused. What's up with Next Gen?
That is, Next Gen is records management system.
So who's?
Telreco is the physical computers that they have in their vehicles. That's why it's a mobile data terminal. Yep, so NextGen is the actual company that's doing the records management system. And they work in cooperation a lot with Telreco.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so we can go right into item number 4. We are talking about the approval of modification to the Town of Plainfield employee cell phone policy. For those groups which have cell phones, you'll notice that there's a policy that we've talked about and voted on. Quite small modification, but it's just to make sure we're all protected. Item on top of page 2. So this is under employees are advised to carry the town cell phone with the employees on active duty, on weekends and holidays, or on call. Really what we're doing there, and that's the change under, I should see it in a second. So that really tells them that they have to carry it if they're on call or on active duty for the weekends or holidays. The final change and modification is what happens if your cell phone is no longer with you and it's lost. So it really is, we have in the last grouping here, which is disciplinary consequences could occur if one of those 3 things happens, whether it's a breach of security, whether it's an accident through reckless of the mobile device, or whether it's a loss of cell phone. We're just making sure that we're covered in case anything occurs and that they're know that they have to be responsible for the phone. So what's your pleasure? Do you have any discussion on either of those 2 changes? You still have the old one, right? Nope, that's the old one. Because it should look like that. That's the change on that one. And then on the last page will be a side of it. Sorry about that. It's okay.
It's there.
That's okay. So yeah, item 5 is to carry the town cell phone of employees on active duty or weekends or holidays or on call. So if you have a group that is actually on call, in case of emergency, they should carry it with them. And the last one is basically saying what happens if you lose it. Be responsible. That's pretty straightforward.
I'm just being bothered by the word here, advised, rather than it's mandated or whatever.
Yeah, well,
Advice is,
we have to be very careful with the unions that you have to have certain words spelled out very carefully.
Otherwise, okay. I'll make a motion to add these 2 changes to the Town of Plainfield employee cell phone policy.
Scott?
I will second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Just as other than the fact that we had I thought it was a very good day, other than being hot. It was a very good PBA event that we had at the Lions Park, and it was hot. Sometimes I can say that, but it was definitely hot, which I think kept the numbers down, unfortunately. But everybody did a good time. So, and then following that up, the fireworks up at the Shepherd Hill area with music was very good. We were already talking with the company about next year. Some of the things I'd like to try next year. I'm thinking about the fact that this company also does synchronize the fireworks to music. And I'm looking to get that with one of the local radio stations to see if we can get that up.
Yeah.
And so I think that would be very good.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I would mention is the fact that we have another event, other than the fact that we've got every Wednesday for the continued month of August, an event here at Lions Park, whether it's music, whether it's something else for recreation, we have something going on. There's also the 14th this month, 14th in downtown Moosup is the VJ Parade, and I'm kind of like working on fixing something because I think think there's a little typo on the paper. The typo says the 54th, it's actually the 61st. So, just so people can understand it is the 61st, we'll probably make a change to that, put it up online, just to remind people as well. So, I do want to say a few words also about a couple of groups that have been working in MUSA recently. And I want to thank them for their efforts. You have Mission MUSA, which I met with last week, who want to do things for downtown MUSA area, more events, more things happening. And they're working in cooperation also with the Plainfield Beautification Group. And I don't know the exact name, I can't remember offhand, but they've already done some things in downtown. They've helped up with the Memorial Veterans Park in MUSA, clean that up nicely, and also put up some birdhouses along the roadway. So I think it's starting to get there. We have some plans to meet again and do more upgrades. So I really think that's something that's very much appreciated. I mean, we just can't get to everything, and these other groups are looking to do things, and that's fantastic. If we can have volunteerism like that, that's really, really nice. So I think those were the others. And with that, is there anything else?
Have a motion to adjourn?
And the time is 7:41. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you.